different than John Wick's. It's much more like feral and aggressive. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because I was blown away by your fight scene, especially with Daniel Bernhardt.
Yeah.
That looked amazing.
Yeah. She is fire because she's very, she's in pain. The character is in pain. She's suffering, and she's turning that suffering into anger, and that anger into, that kind of like aggressive, rough kind of fighting. And even though she's been at the Roscoe Roma training for so long, when the emotions get in your head, it's hard to shake them off, and she's not, we didn't want to do a female John Wick.
Sure.
She's Eve Macaro, and that had to happen. Like, we needed to discover her and who she is, and she can be really gracious and clean when she wants to, and when she's thinking straight, but when she's not, it's just full-on rage,
And I know that you and Keanu go way back, all the way to Knock Knock, which I really like. And I just wanted to know, what was it like working opposite him as John Wick?
It was pretty surreal because I met Keanu when he did the first John Wick, and who would have thought, that John Wick would have, was going to turn into what it is today, and then that I was going to be a part of the franchise. To have him on set with me was really special.
Well, thank you very much. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
Nothing. I mean, literally, this is Aquaman. This is. I've been watching. I remember seeing you in Stargate Atlantis back then. It's like, so this is so different from you. Sure. It's kind of different from you too. I mean, I
don't get to be the action hero.
But you're kicking some booty.
You kick some butt. Come on.
A little bit of more.
Exactly.
You see that sock? You see that muscular calf? Get that on camera, in focus.
Yes, this looks amazing. How instantly did you guys because you guys are amazing together.
Yeah, instant. I was just praying he was going to be cool on and offset. I knew he would be like I knew what he would play. Yeah. But I just didn't know if he was going to be like that in real life and turn it on, because some people are like that, and he's just beyond what I ever expected and beyond. So,
dude,
we're pals.
Really, when Jared called me and told me what he was doing with this guy, I was kind of really blown away at the opportunity, because I'd already been watching him crush it. And his trajectory as this rising star, because first I saw him on Game of Thrones. It was like an imposing, intense character that never really spoke, but just had this like intensity. I was like, dude, who's that scary dude? And then to see him tackle Aquaman, I was like, oh man. Before it came out, I was like, I hope he can do this, because this is a huge transition from that character. Now you're gonna carry a movie, and he crushed it. So funny and likable, and like just being able to carry a movie effortlessly. Yeah. And then he turns around, he plays a villain in Fast and the Furious, and he's funny and captivating. I was like, this dude's on fuego. And then I get the call, hey, do you want to party with Jason Momoa on Minecraft with my buddy from Nacho? I was like, this is a dream come true. Pinch me. And then, yeah, but you're like you say, you don't know till you get to set. Is it gonna work? Yeah. Is there gonna be chemistry? And I dare say we got magic chemistry.
Alex Meady, JoBlo.com. How are the two of you doing today?
Great.
Fantastic.
We love JoBlo.com.
Awesome. Love it.
So your role as Alice in Nightmare on Elm Street cemented you as a favorite among horror fans. What was it like when you first stepped into that iconic franchise?
It was amazing because I've been a fan of horror since I could talk, and of course was a big fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. I had a huge crush on Rodney Eastman from Nightmare 3, who plays Joey. And so when I booked the role, it was like a dream come true.
No pun intended.
Dream come true, not a nightmare.
So you went through an incredible transformation as Alice throughout those films. What was the most challenging part evolving that character?
Fucking A. The most challenging part was that, so we don't film in sequence, right? And it was very important that it be believable that Alice goes from this very shy, timid girl to, a badass, right? So basically Alice's powers evolve as each one of her friends dies and she gets their power. Hence, she becomes somewhat stronger gradually, It needed to be gradual, And so in my script, what I did, since we don't film in sequence, I would write for each scene, in the 110-page script, who had died. Because we could be doing, so I could gauge the level of power or strength or confidence, that I had. And because we could be doing, scene 36 in the morning and then doing scene 4 later in the day, you know what I mean? So it was very important to keep that consistent, as well as, hair and makeup too, to be consistent throughout the film, and also my level of confidence. So that was the biggest challenge.
Well, you absolutely nailed it, of course.
Thank you. It was believable, right? Good.
One of the biggest things about this convention is that we are not only celebrating vampires, but we are celebrating a love of practical effects. Throughout your career, do you have a favorite moment involving special effects?
Gosh. Well, of course, Nightmare, the 80s, it was like all practical effects, essentially. Do I have a moment? I mean, there's scenes that I love in Nightmare 4 in particular. The scene in the theater where the Sane pair, this one, right? Of course. And Mick Strong was head of production on Nightmare 4, and he actually wrote a book. And they would have these meetings to figure out, how are we going to have Alice go through a theater scene, into a screen? How are we going to have Debbie turn into a cockroach? How are we going to... So because these are practical effects they have to figure out.
Works really well on television, I feel. Tom, with Harry is such a cool character because you're dealing with a guy that's a decent guy, but he does really horrible shit. I think same with you, Patty. What was it like? What's it like to take on Guy Ritchie, this particular story in this particular world?
It was good fun, actually. Guy always approaches this kind of world with a certain sort of energetic flamboyance, and he likes to have fun with his sort of Pulp Fiction takes on the gangster world and stuff like that. So that was good fun to be part of his signature brand and play in that world. But what Ronan and Jez Butterworth have done is they've underpinned that with a really wonderful family dynamic and a drama as well. So there's the best of both worlds really going on.
Patty, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. You're so brilliant at comedy. You're really good, and you do everything. This character's it's almost sad to see where this character is. Can you talk about how you approach this guy?
Yeah, he's a bit sad. I agree with you. He's a bit sort of he's a kid who's really struggling for status within his family. He really wants to sort of prove himself and be accepted. And given some kind of status, but he's not really. He's just been given a job by his dad, on the kind of docks in the East End, and he's just somebody that wants his dad to love and respect him. His mother kind of doesn't really, have much time for him either. It's a very strange relationship with her. So I think he's someone that doesn't really know who he is. He wants to prove himself, and he's been also haunted by things that have happened to him in his past, and he's fighting for a voice within the family to try and get respect. So at some point in the story, he takes that into his own hands and takes control of his own destiny.
No, there's so many details here, and it's so complex. There's so much complexity here, and I think that Tom, you've been doing a lot of TV. What is the appeal for you to taking on the smaller screen?
I think it's opportunity to in long form storytelling. There's more opportunity to develop a character and over time, as opposed to the brief window that we get in a movie.
I'm Ken Forey, and
I'm Ryan from JoBlo.
From JoBlo.com, one of my favorite sites in all the world, and dear friends, and I appreciate them so very, very much. They're dear to my heart, and I have been for, I think 30 years now. So yeah, really, really fan.
Absolutely. Jimmy O from JoBlo.
Jimmy O from JoBlo.
Yes!
That's what it says on his card.
That is true. That is true. I gotta say, like, how lucky are you guys to, you know, be a family with Viola Davis? Probably one of the greatest people alive, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I want to start with you guys because you guys get to be her. Chris, what was it like working with her and finding this character?
Yes, it was amazing being able to work with Viola. I mean, watching her on Woman King and all the different shows she's been in. I mean, it's just so great to see her in person and how she goes about like filmmaking and acting. It was an honor. It was amazing. Yes.
Nice work, by the way.
I think Chris was going to media training school. Yeah,
Actually, I haven't.
No, I was just noticing that every question you incorporate the question into your answer. Like something
that's good.
It is so good.
Yeah, no,
it's so hard for me to do that. I just be answering.
I'm peeping game, dog.
I'm doing it too, dude.
I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate that.
No problem. You again. You get to be a little bit rebellious. It's kind of fun. What was it like for you?
You know, I'm always down to do some things that I've never done before, which was talk back to my parents. And
without getting smacked.
Without getting smacked in the face. Like that dinner scene. I was like, I would never.
Right.
No. But I think that's the beauty in TV and film, right? You are seeing so many different characters that are coming from so many different walks of life and how they see life is just different. And I love how Serena, she's rebellious, but rebellious for a reason because she doesn't allow herself to be put in a box. And I think that is something that a lot of teenage girls can relate to. Absolutely. And I was just honored to play that role and portray her in a way.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.